Hi guys, it's Vixen here. I just wanted to make a hopefully pretty short little update video just to let you know about some changes I'm going to be making to the scheduling of videos on my channel. I will still have one video a day as I've always had since I created the channel, but the way I'm going to schedule them is going to be a little bit different. Essentially, I'm going to have multiple LPs up at the same time so that there's just more variety, there's more to choose from, and if somebody doesn't like one LP, maybe they'll like the other, maybe not. But my plan is to have at least 2 LPs going up simultaneously at any one time. I've kind of created blocks, I suppose blocks of games that I want to release together. And the way it's going to work is there's going to be 4 different kinds of games within that block. And they're not all going to be released at exactly the same time. But I've kind of labeled them in certain ways, and let's hope that I can explain this succinctly. Essentially, I'm going to have 2 main LPs that go up on alternate days of each other. So LP1 will go up one day, LP2 will go up the next day, LP1 will go back up, LP2 will go back up. So you have, one video from an LP going up every other day. And yeah, that was just the best way that I could think of doing it. And the way that I've decided to categorize things, because I don't want to have too much similar content. I want to have variety to this channel, to the games that I'm playing. So the 2 main LPs that go up are both going to be story driven. And by story driven, I mean they're going to be long. They're going to be at least 8 hours. Well, at least it depends. They're going to be on the longer side. They're not going to be a quick game. And the main LP that goes up, well, they're both going to be, those 2 are going to be the main LPs on my channel at any given time. And one of them is going to be story-driven horror, since my channel is predominantly focused on horror, which means essentially story-driven just for me means that it's going to be a longer game. So it's going to be a long story-driven horror game, and then that's going to go up alongside another story-driven game. Possibly horror, not necessarily. It really depends on what I feel like playing. So you're going to have 2 long LPs going up at the same time on alternate days. Some point when one of the LPs ends, because let's face it, the likelihood of them being exactly the same length is very minimal, I'm going to have to fill in the gap between when one LP ends and the other LP ends. I don't want to just have that LP going, because looking through my channel at the moment, I have just blocks of one LP, and I don't want that anymore. I want to split it up and add some variety. So when one ends, I'm going to start a new shorter series that will hopefully run the same length as the one that's already in progress, so that there will always be multiple LPs on my channel. And that shorter one is going to likely be an RPG Maker horror game. Not necessarily. That's kind of the wild card of the bunch. It can be anything, but it's going to be on the shorter side. Which essentially means it's going to be under 4 or 5 hours. There might be some exceptions to that, but it's going to be on the shorter side. And then at some point, I'm also going to have a one-shot thrown in there, just because why not? And that's generally going to be, by one shot, I don't necessarily mean one video. I mean, it's going to be something along the lines of an hour or less. It's just going to be a quick game. And I just want it there to have something that's quick. I appreciate some people aren't gonna like the longer stories. They don't want to they don't want to spend they don't have necessarily the time to spend on those. So I want to have some quick stuff too. But essentially what's going to happen is you're going to have those 2 longer LPs going up on alternate days. When one of them runs out, the gap between when it runs out and when the second LP ends is going to be filled with a wild card, a shorter LP that is most likely going to be an RPG Maker game, usually horror, but we'll see how that goes. And then at some point, I'm just going to throw in a one-shot in there somewhere. If the RPG Maker game or the wild card goes over when the other LP ends, I'm just going to let that run its course before I run the next block of games. Or of LPs anyway. Because that's just how I want to do it. I've created sort of a schedule in my mind of the kind of games. I've got a list of games that I want to play, and I've put them into this scheduling, into this format, so that I have constant variety. And I don't want to mess it up too much by like going, oh, that LP's ended and I've only got the short one left, I might as well start that one now. I just want to get one block out at a time, so that I can just kind of get it out in a formatted way, as it were. So essentially, every time a new block comes out, you're going to have 2 long LPs, 1 short LP, and a one-shot. Obviously, that will vary in length and sometimes genre. You might have 2 story-driven horror LPs going up simultaneously, since this is predominantly a horror channel. But I do try to have variety, and like I said, one of the story-driven games could be anything as long as it's story-driven. So sometimes it won't be, sometimes it will be, but you will always have a story-driven, you will always have a horror LP going on my channel, is essentially what I want. And so when one block runs out, I'll start the next one. So you'll have those 2 LPs, the story-driven LPs, the long ones, running on alternate days. When one runs out, the RPG Maker horror or the wild card will fill up the space left between the end of the first LP and the end of the second LP. A one-shot will go in there somewhere, and if the wild card goes on longer than any of the rest of that stuff, I'm gonna let it just go through its course, just let it all finish, and then you'll get a block of the next games. So 2 new LPs will immediately start once the wild card has finished. And I'm hoping this will be good. I'm hoping it will work out and you guys enjoy what I do, because that is the aim. That is the entire point of why I'm doing this. It is predominantly for interaction with you guys, and I know not everybody likes the same kind of games, not everybody likes to watch the same kind of LPs, so I want to add a little bit of variety. And as always, feel free to suggest games to me if you would like. Again, as always, I do have a Mac, so my repertoire is a little, not necessarily limited, but I have a little less choice than I would if I had a PC, let's put it that way. Anyway, I hope I explained that well. It sounded maybe a little confusing in my head. I don't know, maybe I'll have like a graph up or something. I'll put a graph here maybe that shows when things will go out, and so what's going to be playing at the same time. Just so it's a little less confusing, maybe? Is that the right? Perhaps, I don't know. But yeah, that's essentially what's going to be happening to my channel starting well, as of right now, I think it's planned for today. I think the first episode of the story-driven random LP is going up, and tomorrow will be the first episode of story-driven horror. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy what those are. I don't know if at this point when this video is released whether the first episode will have gone up or not, but it will be up shortly if it hasn't. And I hope you enjoy it. I certainly enjoyed playing it. And yeah, that's pretty much everybody. I hope you like the content, and I hope you like the new changes to the channel. I wanted to add some variety, and now that I have the opportunity to record more often than I could, because recently I'm not sure I could say created, but I got a new recording space so that now I have more freedom to record, because before I could only record when I was alone in the house, and since I play long games mostly, that was difficult to do because people had to be out for pretty much 2 days. They had to be out for 2 days for me to record. But I've created, again, I can't say I created. Essentially, there's a garden shed in the garden. Where else would it be? It's a garden shed. And that's where I'm recording from now. And I can be as loud as I want, as late as I want, which is obviously good. And so I have more freedom to just record when I want. And that's given me the flexibility to be able to implement this new schedule. Without it, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I just wouldn't have the opportunity to record. And yeah, it's a little dingy and it's cold and full of buzzsaws for some reason. Like big tabletop buzzsaws. It's a little creepy. There's like 300 spiders in here with me. And there's trees that like scratch on the glass whenever the wind blows. So it tends to make me a little paranoid when I'm playing horror. But it works well for its purposes, and I'm really glad that I now have this space that is mine and that I can be fully capable to record in. And I still can't record as often as I would like to, because I am a full-time university student, and that just means that I have other responsibilities that I need to incorporate into my life at the same time. And obviously I want to do both of these things well, to the best extent that I can. And that essentially means that I need to put as much effort into both of them, so I can't fully focus on one over the other. And so that means that I still can't record as frequently as I would, but I'm recording a lot more than I was. And yeah, I hope these new changes sit well with you. I hope you all enjoy them, and I hope they go down well. Really, that's all I have to say about it. I hope you guys like it. And yeah, if the first video hasn't released, if the video for today hasn't been released today, not counting this one, I'll see you in that. If it has been released, then I'll see you whenever I release tomorrow. And you can all look forward to that. I hope you all have a great afternoon, evening, morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. I will see you all in the future. TTFN and cheerio.